Hello, and welcome to Caregivers Place with Mrs. V and Crystal Thomas and Mother J with Alzheimer's.
Greetings to all of the caregivers. Uh, I'm just so excited right now because I have the caregivers group. And when I talk about the caregivers group, we talk about a place where caregivers can come together to be able to share information, give tips, look at resources, understanding the caregiver's journey. Because if we're a caregiver, we know we all have a journey. And sometimes our journeys may be similar, they may be different. But the important part to remember is that we're not on this journey alone. So, one thing that I'm really excited about by having the caregivers group is the opportunity to meet so many awesome, amazing caregivers. And today, I just consider myself so fortunate that we're having a conversation with Crystal. And Crystal, I just want to say good afternoon to you. And when we talk about Facebook, one of the great things about Facebook is the fact that it's allowed us to meet each other. And for me, just to find out about the things that you're doing in the caregiver's world and as it relates to your mom. So I just want to say hi. And I feel like we've known each other for a long time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share, and thank you for thinking enough of me to even invite me to even share on your platform. I am elated. Thank you so much.
Well, when you talk about sharing on my platform, when I saw the work that you're doing and the fact that you are actually documenting the caregiver's journey, and everything that you are doing, that made me say, like, you know what? This is someone I need to talk to. And I was the caregiver for my mom, and when you think about just that whole experience and just the things that you go through, but the fact that you have actually documented so much of your experience with your mom. So, first of all, I just want to ask, how long have you been on the journey?
8 years. We've been on this journey for 8 years now.
Okay, 8 years. And I know that you have a platform that actually talks about Mama J. Did I say
That
that
is correct. That is correct.
right?
I initially didn't have any idea about starting a platform. I was just, some of the changes that you go through with Alzheimer's and dealing with some of the, things that they go through. I just start videotaping it and just say, well, I'm going to make the best of it. I've always videotaped her. So I just continue videotaping her, even with some of the silly things that she say. And instead of me, it's like, oh my gosh, she's saying the same thing over and over again. I just start videotaping it and making it into joy and laughter.
I think that's one of the things that sometimes we lose, on the other journey, especially when you start talking about Alzheimer's and dementia, being able to laugh, laugh at some of those moments and just to be kind of energized from it, even in what some people may consider some of those rough, tough times. So can you just share a little bit about how did you know? And that's something I know that we talked about. How did you know? How did you know when your mom was starting to change, if you will? One day she's one way and then something else. Did it seem happen all of a sudden, or was it a progression? How did you know? And I think that's one of the things. Was it a
Well, Velda, to be very honest, I didn't know. I didn't know. I'm degreed as a therapist, but I was not aware that my mom was going through the early onsets of Alzheimer's. I didn't know. And she and I would get on the phone and laugh about some incidents that she may have had. I remember one day she called me and she says, Chris, you're not going to believe what I did. I said, what, mama? She said, I got dressed, put on my suit and my hat, and I was wondering why in the world the mailman is riding around on Sunday because I'm on my way to church. So she got to church. She's trying to figure out why were the people in the neighborhood cutting grass? Well, someone told her Mother Johnson Day is Saturday. So she came home and told me that, and we just laughed. We thought it was so fun. I said, you did what, Mama? She said, I went to church. I thought it was Sunday. So those are some of the things that we laughed about. And I really didn't know. And it kept occurring. Certain things kept reoccurring. And then we realized, oh, something is missing here.
mm,
So before we wasn't aware and I didn't know. And so when the things kept reoccurring over and over, little incidents like that, then of course we had her checked out and found out that it was an early onset of Alzheimer's.
You talk about the early onset of Alzheimer's, and I think that that's something that so many of us have to acknowledge that sometimes we really don't know. It's something is going on, but what is it that's going on? And that's the hard part, being able to identify and then look at what to do. So again, just if you can just share a little more about what is it that you did once you realized what was going on. What did you do?
It took me probably about a year to realize it was really something going on because she lived by herself in a senior citizen area with a lot of other senior citizens. She was still driving, she was still doing everything that she normally does. But because I wasn't there to see the day to day interactions, I couldn't see it. Because when she talks on the phone, if you see her even on my Facebook page, she presents very, very well. You're not able to see it. And so what happened was, I remember one day my brothers called me and my daughter, and they were all upset because mama said that somebody had taken her pocketbook and she lost her pocketbook. Mind you, she visits me in Florida at the time all the time, and she would leave some clothes here and some of her pocketbooks. And she had left it in Florida, but she had the whole family in an uproar saying that she had lost something. And then we start recognizing, and then she said she was losing her keys. And we realized, and then she was very adamant about, I lost it. I know I had my pocketbook. Had everybody upset. And then when I went and took her to the doctor, we realized it was really the early onset of Alzheimer's and a little short-term forgetfulness. And she just didn't remember. And in her mind, she knew what she was saying, and she was right. And if you have a parent that normally is pretty on point, lives by themselves, normally take care of themselves, you really believe they're correct in what they're saying. So it was probably about a year before we really realized what was really going on because we did not live with her and had day-to-day interactions as far as seeing things changing by the moment.
That's one of the challenges that we really do face as far as those changes and what do those changes really represent, because we know that we all can be forgetful sometimes. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we can all talk about, hey, we misplaced something, we lost something, and some of that can be considered quote normal, but when it's constantly occurring and looking at what does that mean as far as actually some changes, that's taking place. Because I know that, with my mom, you know, our the grandkids were the first ones to actually identify, like, whoa, something is going on different, here. So again, just being able to identify it and then looking at what do you do as far as moving forward. One thing I have to say is that you have been such an encouragement. And when I say an encouragement, we know that on this journey, there's the good times, there's the bad times, there's the rough times, the ups, the downs. Can you just share a little bit of that roller coaster ride that I guess you experienced as the caregiver for your mom? All I can say is clearly your mom is very blessed to have you as her caregiver, really, because again, we talk about the lessons learned. Lesson learned, being able to know that there is support out there, and the fact that you were able to get a support group and to know that there's someone that you can talk to, because I think that's a part of the struggle, sometimes feeling like there's no one to talk to, there's no one who understands, even feeling guilty, feeling guilty because you're upset because maybe they're upset and not understanding how to maybe take some of those times and turn it into something else, or just taking time to just kind of inhale, exhale. Having said that, we talk about self care also. Now, with all of this that we're talking about and everything you're doing for your mom, what are you doing for yourself? I know you talked about, joining a self care group, which we know means everything. But is there anything else you feel like you are doing that has really helped you to make this journey just a little easier?
Yeah, I think that the first thing is understanding as a caregiver, and that I did not initially, understanding that the emotional roller coaster that they're going through in their minds. We think they're just saying the same thing over and over and they're just doing stuff purposely, but that is not true. They're fighting, they're trying to figure out what is going on themselves. So I first had to go take a step back and I took some join a support group. That's one of the things I did. I joined a support group. And then when I realized that Alzheimer's and dementia was affecting people in all kinds of ways, some people were angry. They was done with their loved ones that were angry. Some was aggressive, fighting them. And I realized that I really didn't have it as bad as I thought I did. My mother was just repeating herself and doing the same thing over and over. And also, I realized that some people were runners. They would leave, they had to lock the door. The things that I dealt with was her getting up in the middle of the night saying that she was ready to go home.
Mm-hmm.
It got to a point where we decided that it was best for her to move with me to Florida. So I have five brothers in North Carolina. So we all agreed. And my mother also agreed that if she ever got sick or couldn't live alone, that she preferred living with me. So they flew her here and she started living with me. And that's when I really saw the real deal, living with her day to day, because she was still vocal. She still had her opinion. She was still going to the bank. She was still able to pay her bills. So when you have somebody, that's able to do certain things, but then they forget and start thinking, did you take my money? Did I put my money in the bank? Did my money come? That's when I realized there are real issues going on. And so what I learned to do is that I understood that there were some people that were going through a whole lot more than I was. And I was thankful that mine were minimal. The issues that I was dealing with was minimal compared to some of the things I learned in the support class. In the support class, I started learning about the different phases of Alzheimer's and dementia and how it can affect certain parts of the brain. And so with that, I started saying, well, it's really not that bad with me. Oh, she talks a lot and she repeats herself. But I understood that it wasn't her. Who my mother was not the same person. And I just remember her as she was and not what she was portraying presently. And I just say, if my mother, that is not my mother. She would not say that. She would not do that. She would not act that way. When I took that part of myself out and start realizing it wasn't her, then I was able to deal with it a whole lot more. And then, of course, I had support. Some
Mm-hmm.
people don't have support. I have my husband. He's very, very supportive. So understanding that what's going on in their mind, they don't see the way we see, they don't think the way we think, they're not clear, and a whole lot of stuff is going on in their brains. We need to understand it and then deal with that particular person that's dealing with Alzheimer's. That's just my opinion. That's how I deal with it. So if I can make her laugh, then I'm going to laugh. If we can grin about something, then we would grin. And then I started learning what is it makes her happy.
Mm-hmm.
My mother loves gospel music. My mother loves watching Steve Harvey. My mother loves game shows and guessing games. She loves paternity court. She loves playing Uno. She loves playing checkers. So what I started doing was tapping into those things that she was compassionate about, and it made our lives so much, much easier.
You know what? All I can say is clearly your mom is very blessed to have you.
Well, I have a couple of things. I have started this journey, our 8 year journey on my mother's journey of Alzheimer's. And so what I decided to do, I have videos of everything. I have over 4,000 videos. I have when she was first diagnosed. I have her doctor's appointments, when blood was drawn, everything that you can think of, I have it. And what I've learned is that when you don't know something, it is very, very difficult for you to be, handle whatever situation is. I didn't know about Alzheimer's and all of the changes that I've gone through understanding what the disease is about, what it's like, what I need to do, what is she going through. I have learned that I feel that I have a wonderful platform that I can share with others. My mother's videos on my social media platform, it's called Crystal Thomas. And then I do have another platform from Facebook that's called Mother J. It started off with Crystal's photo finishing, but it's Mother J. And what I do, I just try to share some tidbits. I try to share some of my innermost feelings of what I am going through, because we're all going through some things. And hopefully it can be a blessing to somebody else. Hopefully it can make somebody else smile.
Mm-hmm.
So come on over to my Facebook page, take a look, enjoy. And let me share this with you. I realized too that I am a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
She is my mother. And I am not an expert. I am a caregiver. And so what I share on my platform, I'm not saying that I know everything, because there's a possibility you may have some things you can share with me. That there may be some suggestions you can share that you can give me to help me on my journey. Because we're about 8 years in now, and she's still doing pretty well. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to share with you, and hopefully and prayerfully, you guys will be able to share with me as well.
To work And yes, that's why we want to be able to have this platform and to hear from other people to be able to share. So again, we talked about how do you know? Well, the question is, sometimes you don't. It's as simple as that. Sometimes you don't know. But the question is, what are we doing to handle this journey? And Crystal, I also have a page and it's called Vision for Today. And I just want to ask you, when you talk about your vision for today, what would you say as far as, and I know you're doing a lot of things, what would you say is your vision for today, right now? And
Well, there's a couple of things that I do realize, and I use this quote all the time. All you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is enough. I do the very best that I can do. I share as much as I can share. I pour in to my mother. And it's amazing that sometimes she pour into me.
Mhm.
So all I know is that my vision is to be the best caregiver that I can be and to support her and to support other caregivers and have an open heart that maybe somebody can help me. And I
Mhm.
think it's important that when you collaborate with someone like yourself and you join in with forces, I think that's awesome because it takes all of us to build a village. It takes all of us to be the best that we can be. You know something that I don't know. I may have an idea or a tip that you may not be familiar with, but if we put all that into the same pot, we could be wonderful supporters for each other. So my vision is to continue sharing my mother on video, continue asking questions, continue being vulnerable and share my inner feelings about what is going on with me, my vision about how I want to take care of her, where I want her to be. I also feel it's important for us to show your real self. Like you're not getting help from your loved ones or whatever you're going through. It's important for us to be transparent and to be pure because when we hold things in, it causes us to be sick. It causes us to be stressed out. So it's important for us to have an outlet. You're an outlet. You're an outlet where a person can share what they're going through. That's what I want to be. So my vision is to help a whole lot of people in the way that I can with Mother J.
And that's what this is all about, being able to share our journeys together, to be able to learn from each other. So, anyone who's watching this, again, Crystal has shared her Facebook page. You know, my Facebook page. We are working together because that's the only way we're going to be able to become stronger in our journey here. And, there's so many quotes that's out there, but one I'm looking at right now is please remember the real me when I cannot remember you. So that is something that I think is just so important, to remember. And like you said, they're not wanting to go through this. This isn't something that they would have wished on themselves. We wouldn't have wished it on them, but this is what we're dealing with. So again, finding that support, finding that encouragement, finding that me time, finding whatever it is,
Well,
you are definitely doing it. And again, if you haven't heard about Crystal Thomas, again, check it out. We're going to continue to collaborate together. And yes, you'll see some of her Mother's Day over in the caregivers group also. So again, just thank you. God bless you. On behalf of all the caregivers, thank you for sharing your story, your journey, because it's definitely helping us to become better.
thank you. Have a great weekend.
Okay, you too. Thanks, Crystal.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you for watching Mrs. B and Crystal Thomas. See you next time. Have a great day.